Every 15 minutes, a child enters the care system in the UK. And in that moment, their world is turned upside down. My name's Chris and I work for the Huddersfield Methodist Circuit, and I've been a youth worker for well over 10 years now. And me and my wife a few years ago had made the decision that we were going to go through the process of becoming foster carers. And since we've been approved, we open up our home to young people that have entered the care system, hopefully giving them a safe and nurturing environment to live in. See, over the years, I've worked with so many young people, and one of the joys about doing this for as long as I have is that I get to watch young people turn into young adults with real roles, responsibilities, and jobs. And I was speaking to a young lady who just qualified to be a midwife, and she was telling me about the training and all of the hoops that she had to jump through to become qualified. And one of them that has stuck with me is that she had to deliver 40 babies before she could become qualified. And what that made me think of is that up and down the country, there are student midwives literally catching life to try and reach that magic number of 40 to become qualified. Each one of those babies, a number, but so special to them. And the thing is about babies is that they're extraordinary. They're so vulnerable, yet they're filled with infinite potential from the moment they are born. And as a Christian, the Bible is filled with imagery of how precious new life is. And some of the most famous Bible verses, some of maybe even your favorite Bible verse, are all about what it means to be a baby and have this imagery of what it is to be a baby in it. You might think about Jeremiah, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Isaiah's, before I was born, the Lord called me. From my mother's womb, he has spoken my name. Or it might even be from the Psalms. For you created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. You see, being a baby was significant enough that Jesus himself was incarnate, experiencing the fullness of humanity from birth. That is the heart of the Christmas story, the one that we tell every single year and celebrate. And I think the reason why we love to celebrate what it is to be a baby is because we don't know what that baby is going to achieve from the moment that they are born. They are full of this infinite potential. And surely if we believe that, then every single child deserves the chance to explore what that potential might hold for them, no matter what situation that they have been brought into or come to be part of. That statistic is shocking but true, that every 15 minutes a young person enters the care system. And in my time as being a youth worker and now as a foster carer, I can tell you that the reasons really vary. And I've heard so many stories of how this happens now. But I can tell you that none of them are happy ones. They are all stories of abuse, neglect, loss, and rejection. Things that as adults that we would not be able to comprehend. They're experiencing while they're still forming who they are, their identity, and whilst they're trying to unlock that potential that we've just talked about. Surely as a society, the way that we care about our most vulnerable children says something about who we are. These children that still have all of that potential within them. And the thing is about good foster care, it isn't just about providing a safe space. It's about creating an environment filled with love and nurture and guidance, things that we have all needed in our times to become a better version of ourselves. And the thing is, it's often work that requires little talent, but a whole lot of effort. When I work with young people, I'm often reminded about Jesus' words in Matthew 5. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. And for me, every single young person is a light bulb. They are somebody that are ready to shine. But for those that are in foster care and those that are in care, their past often acts as a lampshade. It covers their light. And the only way to uncover that is by showing them who they can be, how much they are valued, and ultimately how deeply they are loved. Surely that message was at the heart of Jesus' entire time on earth. looking after those in need, showing them that they are loved, and helping them shine. I just want to take us to Mark 9 now. And when you look at Mark 9, you see Jesus having this brilliant interaction with his disciples. And what's happening is that Jesus and his disciples are walking from one town to another. And the context here is that the disciples are all young adults themselves. It's essentially a big group of lads that are traveling around together. And over my time being a youth worker, I've gone on loads and loads of walks with young people. And one thing that you should know about young people is that they get bored really easily. And when they get bored, they start making games and challenges, and you'll end up finding them jumping over things and running down paths and doing everything that they can to entertain themselves. In fact, I have a rule of youth work, which is if I ever hear the phrase, watch this, we stop things immediately. And the reason for that is that I know that watch this is a sign of overconfidence, which usually ends up in a trip to A&E not too far after. So I think that Jesus is being the ultimate youth worker at this point. It is hard yards walking with young people from one place to another, and it must have been an ordeal even for him. You see, beyond what young people might do on a walk, their propensity to talk is incredible. They can talk about anything for hours. Believe me, I've heard all sorts of topics. Silences must simply be filled, whether it is a quick sing-along, sometimes even a stupid noise, or the young person's favorite, an argument. And this is what we see towards the end of this journey. I know that Jesus is the ultimate youth worker because Jesus, in almost parental fashion, asked them what they were arguing about on the journey. And what that says to me is that Jesus had switched off. Jesus wasn't listening to them for the whole time that they were walking. And it's a trick that we all need when we are working with young people. I promise you that. So Jesus asked them almost parentally, what were you two arguing about? And when the disciples finally get the courage to tell Jesus what they were arguing, it was really simple, but quite embarrassing. It's about who was the best at things. And for me, that shows that young people haven't changed at all. I've heard these kind of arguments. And I've got to admit something. Maybe I'm not the greatest youth worker ever, but I would have told these young people to shut up at this point. I'd have been like, come on. We don't need to be arguing about it. Just crack on. But Jesus takes this moment where young people are having a competition with each other about who is best, and he gives some of the most profound teaching that the earth has ever heard. He says, anyone who wants to be first must be the very last and servant of all. In this moment, Jesus is dropping knowledge that the disciples cannot comprehend. I can only imagine the confusion on the disciples' face when Jesus says this. So he backs it up. And he sees a little kid and he points them out and says, whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one that sent me. You see, Jesus' response to who is best is by challenging them to look at their own attitudes, to look at the most vulnerable in society. How is the argument that you're having serving them? I love these people. Show it to them. Do it in my name. It's not rocket science. I don't want you to be the first person in line. I want you to be serving the line. You see, as churches, I think that this is something that we're actually really good at doing. We are really good at serving the line. But the challenge in this story is not just one about how we are welcoming people in. It's about how we welcome the most vulnerable in. Who are missing when we gather together? How are we being more inclusive? And sometimes for us, the question isn't, how can we do the work ourselves? How can we support the people that do that work? And for me, my question today is, how do we engage and support foster carers alongside those children and young people that have entered the care system? And I always start with the first point, and the first point for me is that we need to be aware. You see, awareness is the first step towards any action, whether that action is something that we do together corporately or whether that is a personal action. And my awareness personally has been growing from that first interaction with the service that I had a few years ago. I have learned so much about what it means to be in the care system, and I continue to learn on a daily basis. You see, I wonder sometimes what people might think when I tell them that I'm a foster carer. I see online often people turn around and say that foster carers just do it for the money. And what I can tell you is that foster carers do get payments and they get allowances for the young people that they have in their care. But it is just that. It's for the young people in their care. So they have the facility and ability to look after that young person on a 24/7 basis. It is not a money-making scheme in any stretch of the imagination. Other things that I think that go on in people's heads, and sometimes people even say this to me, is, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you open your home up to people that you don't know. And the final thing that I think, and sometimes I think is a little bit unsaid from some people, is, I get you're a good person. Stop with this virtue signaling. You don't have to do these things. And for me, my response to that is, that my journey to be a foster carer was never about virtue, because virtue can only take you so far when it comes to these things. I know for me and my wife, it's about something so much deeper. It's about a yearning. It's about a real desire to do this. As church, I think that we would label that as a calling, because a calling isn't one that is just easy. It's one that's set with joy and pain. It's one that is filled with tears, but it's also filled with laughter. It's one that is filled with celebration, but also setbacks. And one that you live out every single day. And that is my story of being a foster carer. And I recently spoke with another foster carer, and we were just having a chat about various things. And a little quote from them was, I know that there are problems in the system, but fostering is the best thing that I've ever done with my life. And I couldn't agree more. For me, the joys are often found in the really small moments, the ones that people might take for granted. For me, it was having a third toothbrush in the bathroom. It was hearing a child call our house home. It's giving young people opportunities that they wouldn't have if they weren't with us. It's being the safe person that that young person turns to in their real need. I won't lie, the challenges are real. There is chronic underfunding of services that are stretched beyond belief. And young people that enter the care system sometimes provide really challenging behaviours. But if you put it in the context of what they have had to experience in their short lives, it makes a whole heap of sense. Yet throughout my time as a foster carer, what I see is a whole bunch of people that are trying to make that system work, that care, have such compassion for these children and young people involved in the care system. So let's end where I started. The fact that every 15 minutes, a young person enters the care system in the UK. Each one of them born with unbound potential that has been cast a shadow of loss, trauma, and rejection. And the question is how do we personally and corporately as a church call to that mission that Jesus set his disciples to support them and let their light shine for all to see? Whoever welcomes one of these little children in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me does not welcome me, but the one that sent me.